Last session, we have discussed a couple of options on our database like multi-AZ deployment and read replica. Okay. So the purpose of this multi-AZ deployment is for fault tolerant purpose, for disaster recovery purpose. It's not for scaling purpose. Okay. So scaling means if one cluster is getting heavy load, another cluster is going to take some. That is scaling. But auto scaling group is there. So based on the load, it is scaling automatically. But multi-AZ deployment is not for scaling purpose. Just remember this. Okay. For scaling purpose, we have read replica. If load is increasing, you offload some data to another replica. If another data is coming, you offload some to another replica. So you can use that read replica for scaling purpose. But this multi-AZ deployment is for disaster recovery purpose or fault tolerant purpose. Okay. So you see this? This is a primary copy. It will take all the load, and this is a secondary copy. Both runs, so that's the reason cost is going to be double. Okay, it's AWS responsibility data, maintaining data between these or data synchronization or replicating whatever modification you perform in master, replicating the change to standby. So that is AWS responsibility. You don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that is the one thing. So the second one is read replica. Master and replica copy. Here it is S, that means standby copy. But here it is R, so that is a replica copy. So you can perform read and write operations here and you can offload all read operations to this another copies running. So if you create a schema here, it replicates or synchronizes here automatically. Okay. If you drop a schema here, same thing will happen here also. So it's just for read only purpose. That's the reason we call it as a read replica. Replica of our master copy, but it supports only read operations. So this is another important topic in RDS. Then remaining all are very small topics. Okay. Couple of points regarding certification and all, we'll talk about that. Right. So now, when coming to today's session, we are going to discuss about backups. We are going to discuss about backups and restoration of the databases. Okay. So quickly, I'm going to create one database and I'll do one thing. I'll create Amazon Aurora. I want to explain Amazon Aurora. Why? Because it is AWS own database and cost is less compared to another databases. And we are going to get some advanced options for this Amazon Aurora. Why? Because it is Amazon own database. Okay. So they develop, they modify, they release patches. But again, so it's not developed from scratch. It's not developed from scratch. What AWS did, MySQL is an open source. They take an open source code and they released with their own version called Amazon Aurora MySQL Compatibility Edition. Similar way, PostgreSQL also is an open source one. So they have taken that open source code. Okay. So they added some features or they modified and they released a version Amazon Aurora that is compatible with PostgreSQL. Again, once you get connected to the database, it shows as a MySQL only. Once you get connected to it, shows as a MySQL only. But here you need to choose Amazon Aurora. And the advantages we are going to get. The engine and everything is MySQL. Okay. So, but the properties, just like Amazon Linux operating system. It's just like regular Linux operating system only, right? But some commands are simplified. The default username is added. Have you ever seen any default username as EC2 iPhone user with any other Linux flavor? No, you won't. Only with Amazon Linux only we have. Remaining all default username is admin or administrator. So such type of customizations, they made it here also. And they released with their own version. And it also have some advantages. Okay. I'm going to select Amazon Aurora. Then scroll down. You see here, it's asking us, you want to go with the MySQL compatible edition or PostgreSQL compatible edition. If I select MySQL, how I can get connected to it? It is Amazon Aurora. Do we have any separate tool for this? No. If you are selecting MySQL compatible one, you use MySQL tool, that MySQL workbench. If you are using PostgreSQL, you use PG admin tool. That's it. No additional things, nothing. Okay, I'm going with MySQL compatible edition. And you see here, we have some options. These options not really available for our regular databases, MySQL. The first one is show version supports that global database feature. See, whenever we are launching this database, where we are creating this? In Mumbai, we are creating it, right? But I want to create a database that run across multiple AWS regions. That runs across multiple AWS regions. Whatever the one we selected so far, that runs within a region across availability zone. But I need a database that run across the regions. So then we can select this. Allows a single Aurora database to span multiple AWS regions. This is an advanced feature. First thing, show version that supports parallel query feature. You know what exactly parallel means? Multiple at a time. So multiple queries will execute generally in regular MySQL and all. One query at a time and all. The concept, the piping concept is there. So, but here, so this particular version and all, it supports multiple parallel query feature. The third one that supports serverless. Again, what exactly serverless means? Okay, so we are going to have a server. Okay, serverless means server only, but who manages the server is matter. Okay, who manages the server? AWS manages the server. I'll simply show you this. You will. Where is that? No. Ah, it's in my mobile. Now, you see this. Serverless is made of servers. Serverless means, yeah, this one I'm looking for. You see, this guy is trying to see what exactly serverless means. So here it is going to show the servers. It is a bit different. There are servers in serverless. So the main point here is we are going to have a server, but you cannot see, you cannot get connected to it, and no need to choose the configuration when coming to serverless. So you need to choose ACU, Aurora Capacity Units. How many read operations you want to perform, how many write operations you want to perform. So you define minimum and you define maximum. AWS is going to scale automatically. Okay. So if you want to launch serverless, you enable this and you see here, these three specific versions support serverless. Okay. Again, when I select this, if I scroll down here, you see this serverless and it is asking what is the minimum ACUs you required and maximum ACUs, Aurora Capacity Units you required. So, okay, I need 10 Aurora Capacity Units to 20 Aurora Capacity Units. So that means from 20 GB to 40 GB, AWS scales automatically. Minimum is 10. That means 10 Aurora capacity units means 20 GB RAM. Again, we are talking about RAM. Whenever you're taking server also, you're getting a RAM. But here, it scales down, scales up automatically based on the load. Okay, so that is the difference. Servers are there, but is managed by AWS. You need to choose, okay, minimum configuration and maximum configuration. AWS scales automatically. Okay, so that is a serverless mechanism. And I'm not going with serverless also. Right, I'm going with a version here. And I'm going with the dev test environment. And this won't comes under free tier eligibility. Whatever the one I'm demonstrating here, it won't comes under free tier eligibility. So you guys practice with MySQL. Okay. So what is a DB instance identifier? DB cluster identifier. Yesterday we have used instance. Yesterday, whatever MySQL we have created a DB instance, but now we are creating a cluster. The logic is very simple. Cluster will have multiple instances. Cluster will have multiple instances. So by defaultly, it creates with one. If you want to add more, you can. You can add reader. You can add writers. Okay. So combination of instance, we can call it as a cluster. Right. I'm going to call this as Aurora MySQL cluster. Or you no need to give cluster. Why? Because dot cluster AWS will add. Okay. What is a default username? DB admin. Password. I'm giving the regular password. And what configuration you required? I'm going with least available one, that is T2 small, T3 small. If you are looking for T2, you enable this, you go and select T2 small. That is the lowest configuration. So micro is not available. When micro is not available, it won't come under free tier eligibility. That's what I mentioned. Okay. So I'm going with T3 small. And do you want to enable multi-AZ for this? Yesterday we discussed it, right? So if you want to enable multi-AZ deployment, you select this, another cluster will run in another availability zone. I don't really require, I'm going with don't. And you want to connect to any EC2 instance? If yes, you go and select your EC2 instance here, but I don't have any running, so it's available, so no issue. And I'm going with the subnet group we created, public accessibility, no. Security group, I'm going to choose the MySQL security group we already created. Why? Because we selected MySQL compatible one. And so there is an option called RDS proxy. So basically this, what exactly proxy will do? What exactly proxy will do? Huh? So in interview, you might hear about proxy calls, right?
Support.
What exactly that means?
Taking the support.
Okay, taking the support. It runs on top of. It will hide identity of our primary resource. So the actual database, the one we launched, but it act in between the the request and database. It don't expose our database. Okay. So basically that is what proxy is. So if you want to create a proxy, you select this option, then AWS will create a proxy for us. On top of this database, a proxy will be added. Okay. So it just the request will first go to the proxy will filter and it sends to the database. But it additional cost not really required. And in real environments also not actively using this. Okay. So I'm going with password authentication. Enhanced monitoring, you know what exactly it is. But yesterday I failed to demonstrate it. I have not shown, I enabled it, but I'm not sure. I'll show today. And initial database, I'm calling it as a first DB. default group, options group, failover priority. Okay, so there is a concept called failover priority for Aurora cluster. The failover priority is, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll quickly launch. It is going to take some time, right? I'll explain. Okay, not enabling auto main version upgrade. Backup, I'm going with 1 day. We are good. You know, it's taking some time, right? Yesterday we have seen that. Right, I'll show now. Okay, so I'm selecting Amazon Aurora. So whenever you scroll down here, there is a concept called failover priority. So here, there is a concept called failover priority. When coming to this failover priority, so, you know, I told you that this is a cluster. In cluster, we are going to have instances. For example, you have a cluster with 3 instances or 4 instances, or you know, you can create 15 replicas for Aurora. One master copy, and you can create 15 replica copies for this Aurora. For example, something happened to your master copy. Something happened to your master copy. So then what happens? So basically you have like, you know, using master and read replica mechanism. So master is down. Now remaining all read replicas only. So read replicas don't support any write operation. Okay, as master is down, all write operations stops. So we will get into issue. No data write happened to our application, no sign up will happen. So then definitely we will land into an issue, right? So when something happened to that master, when something happened to master copy, one of the reader will promote it to master. The logic is very simple. See, in our school, when teacher is absent, what happens? One of the student will go and will act as like, you know, leader, or he will do all the things on behalf of that. So if master is absent, everyone is not enjoying, right? Of course we do. Right. So we used to. So, but what happened? One of the student is now promoted. So earlier also, same thing. Sorry, here in database also, same thing. Master is there, remaining all replica copies. For example, out of 15, you created 15 replica copies. Okay. So now master is facing some difficulty. Which one is going to promote it to master, next master? So that we can define. Lowest priority one will have more chances to promote. So for example, this is primary one. I'm going to give tier 0. Now I'm going to create a replica for this. For that replica, I can define tier 1, tier 2. For example, this tier 1 is down. Then immediately, for example, tier 0 is down. So then immediately tier 1 will promote as a master and it will take read and write operations. This is a failover priority. If something happened to tier 1, whatever tier 2 is there, that will promote it as a master. It will take read and write operations. Okay. So this is a failover priority. Got it? So as it is our first copy, I'm giving it tier 0. If I'm creating read replica, I can give tier 1. So if you have multiple copies with tier 1, for example, read replica, already have tier 1, you created another replica with tier 1. It won't give any error. Now what happened? Tier 0 is down. 2 copies have tier 1 now. So then AWS will verify lag between master copy and these 2 replicas. whichever contains same data as master, that will promote. Okay. So if one have 2 seconds lag, another one is having just 10 millisecond lag. So the 10 millisecond lag will promote. Okay. So that is a failover mechanism. We have this mechanism only for Aurora. Right. So I'm giving tier 0 and backup. We obviously need to enable. We don't have any option to disable for this Amazon Aurora. Okay. So I'm going with it. Encryption, you know what exactly it is. And backtrack, I'll tell you what exactly it is. Logs, you know, auto minor version upgrade, you know, relation protection, you know, maintenance window, you know. Okay. So now another difference with this RDS, right, compared to another databases. So the highest storage supported in this AWS RDS is Amazon Aurora. So generally, whatever RDS cluster you select, right? So that RDS cluster maximum storage is 16 TB. If you have database more than 16 TB, you cannot use MySQL, you cannot use MS SQL, you cannot use Oracle. Why? Because that is a hard limit we have. You cannot have more than that. Okay. But this Aurora, maximum it supports 128 TB. Earlier it is 64, but Amazon increased it. It supports maximum of 128 TB. That is the first thing. Second thing, price is 5 times lesser compared to enterprise level applications. 5 times lesser. Performance, 10 times better performance that AWS claims. Okay. As it is there on database, obviously they will promote. Okay. So, you know, because of this reason, many of the organizations go with this Aurora. At least my organization is going with Aurora. Most of the databases, 95% of the databases we are using is Aurora MySQL. We started exploring serverless recently. Okay, that is a recent feature, not from long time. So we started exploring. Why? Because it is easy. You don't need to take care about storage. You don't need to worry about the performance. So you actually pay for actual workload. Currently, no use, minimum, we are going to get charged. High usage, maximum, we are going to get charged. So that's the reason we started exploring serverless mechanism on this Amazon Aurora. Okay. So now I have created one and it is in available state now. You see this? There is an endpoint created. And I told you it is a cluster. This is a cluster. This is an instance. Within the cluster, I want to create new instance. So then I can select the cluster, go to actions, add reader, create cross-region read replica. You know what is cross-region read replica? Read replica will create, but that replica will run in another region, not in Mumbai region. So create blue and green deployment. You know, we already discussed this blue and green deployment. Slowly, you can migrate some data here, some data there. Okay, you can do that. That is very new option. I haven't tried this yet. You can even see it's a new. Basically, now you remember AWS annual conference name, AWS reInvent. Have you received any email about reInvent updates and all? You should. Okay. So November last week to December first week, this happens. Now it is happening. During this reInvent, AWS is going to introduce a lot of new features, new services also. So such type of new options will come for coming 1 week. Okay. So need to explore that. You need to spend some time and need to read. Okay. You can find all that updates in our Slack channel. I believe you are part of Slack, right? So if you observe, there is a channel called AWS Updates. So if you join here, you can find all the updates here. Announces AWS VPC, let use. Application layer, network service, something came. Kinesis, KMS, Redshift, dynamic data masking. Okay, then I need to read about this. Right, EC2s, New instance categories also came. You can find all those things here. If you're really interested, join that and you can read. You can get updates from AWS. Okay. So clone means another copy. Same database, another copy will create. So I can go and create add reader. So then I can give all the properties. Properties are going to be same as existing ones. Okay. So that is a mechanism. Let me quickly get connected to this database. I haven't started. Okay. I'll get connected to this Aurora. So then we'll see. All right.
Avinash,
Yes, please.
you told no serverless. We are using exploring now. You told no. In
Yes.
storage and all, how it will store?
So when coming to storage, you need to define how much data, how much storage you really required.
Like settings, we need to predefine it.
Yes, we need to. So when coming to the serverless mechanism, you are selecting how many CPUs and how much RAM that managed by AWS. Again, storage we need to define, or it auto scales. You know, auto scale option is there, right? How much you are actually storing, you will get charged. When coming to DynamoDB, the next topic, there you no need to mention any storage. You just need to mention read capacity units and write capacity units. No storage, you no need to mention. No pre-provisioning required. That is a proper word actually. No storage pre-provisioning required. You no need to mention I did 30 GB, 50 GB. Okay. So if you select 50 GB, what happens? Whether you are using it or not doesn't matter. AWS will cost us for 50 GB. But when coming to DynamoDB, not really required. If you're storing 10 MB, you will get charged for 10 MB only. 20 MB, you will get charged for 20 MB only. So that is the advantage we will get with serverless. It's truly pay as you go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. This instance is now up and running. Let me get connected to it. Okay. So I have launched MySQL, Aurora, but I'm using MySQL Workbench to get connected to it. Okay. So it's a MySQL tool, but I'm using it for Aurora. That is one thing. And let me delete this, delete all connections, plus symbol. I'm calling it as Aurora. Host name is nothing but endpoint. The cluster endpoint, you can simply take this. So this cluster endpoint will represent all the instances we have. If you add new instance, we are going to get a new name. Okay. If you are adding another instance, it is going to get a new name. So instead of pointing to these individual instances, you simply take your cluster identifier. You gave that cluster identifier here. Port number 3306. The default username we have given admin or DB admin? DB admin only. Okay. All right. The password I have given Avinash1234. All right. So now I'm connecting to this Aurora. When we go to the server status, you see what it is showing? MySQL server. But I launched Aurora, right? That's a compatible. Okay. So everything, it shows as a MySQL only. And here is a schema. Yesterday, I asked you to restore the database, right? You guys did that? I shared a sample database. I asked you to restore that. That is a task I given yesterday. You did that? No? Is that much difficult? Is that difficult? Okay. So go to this administrator. data import or restore. Select it. Import self-contained file. Browse whatever the file I shared over Git. Open that file. Go to import progress. Click on start import. The import completed. This is what I asked you to do. How simple it is. If you go to schemas, if you give a refresh, you see this classic models, new database came. Expand tables. I told you will get tables like a customers, employees, officials. You see, these are the tables like a customer number, customer name, contact last name, phone number. This is what I asked you to do. You tried? No. Okay, now try.
Hello, sir.
All right. So, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I created database skill MySQL database. By default, I created firstly, but I'm unable to delete this one. And also, Workbench I have downloaded and tried to connect the Workbench, but I'm unable to connect this one also because some error is populating.
If you're not able to get connect, that is not Workbench error, right? I downloaded you like I've
Workbench.
also downloaded from internet only. The official
Yeah.
website I also installed. So it's not Workbench error. If you're not able to get connect, it's a security group or database or instance. It's
Okay.
90% database security group. You just go and verify your database security group if you're not able to get connect.
Okay, but by the default database, I'm unable to delete this one. I have unchecked the
Which
snapshot and retention period option.
Okay, you mean in this RDS screen, you are not able to delete this one.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, I'll talk about that. So when you delete your database, that deletes automatically. That's what our next topic. I'll come to that. Don't worry. Okay, just give me some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. So that is restoring database. That is what the task I gave. Okay. So if you know some queries like select star from. So then if you know something, you can like go and pick that. Select all statement. Pick a lot of. So it will show all that information. You see this? So these all are the customer information we have. I told you we have some customer information, right? These all are the customer information, customer number, customer name. So for that also, you really don't need to know much SQL. Just give a right click, copy to clipboard, select all statement or insert statement or update statement. You want to update one of the phone number of a client. So you can use an update statement and all. Okay. So that is not really our job. So, but you can give a try. Right. So that is a Aurora, and the advantage is it has serverless, it has global database option, it supports 128 TB as a maximum storage, and it works in cluster mechanism, not in instance mechanism. You can add multiple clusters. If you want to add reader, you can add and make sure you define failover priorities. When something happened to master, the lowest priority number one will promote it as a master. That's it. That is about Aurora. Okay, now let's talk about backups of these databases. So we have created this Aurora and we have defined backup retention period as a 1 day. Now for this Aurora, is there any snapshots created whenever you go to maintenance and backup? You see here, there is an option called backup. So, and at moment, no snapshot is created. So basically, backup for our database, we call it as a snapshot, just like EC2. Just like EC2, these snapshots stores in S3 platform. Again, can we view what information we have inside the snapshot? No, we cannot. Okay, so for example, I'm going to perform lot of modifications on this database. I'm going to perform lot of modifications. So I decided to take a backup of this. Okay. So if we enable automated backup, AWS will create backup copy automatically. Those are automated backups. Those automated backups, we cannot delete. Yeah. Whenever any AWS creates any backup copy, we cannot delete that automated backup. Okay. Whatever the retention period we have set up, based on that retention period only, it will delete automatically. That is automated backup. But I am suspecting, I may get into any issue in future. So to be in safe side, I want to create a snapshot. So I'm going to actions. Here, take snapshot option is there. Select that, take snapshot. What is the snapshot name? I'm calling this snapshot as a manual manual snapshot. Click on take snapshot. Now what is happening? A manual snapshot is creating. Whatever AWS created, that you can find under automated. AWS not created any so far. Okay. So under automated, you can find that. If you're taking MySQL and all, it creates. I'll quickly show you one. Create database. Okay. I'm selecting MySQL. Free tier. Auto generated. However, I'm not going to get connected to it. 20 gigs is fine. Storage auto scaling. All default options. And expand this. I'm enabling automated backup for 2 days. No encryption. No minor version upgrade. Create database. Okay, it will take some time. So as I have enabled backup for this, it creates an automated backup copy. Those automated backup copies, we cannot delete. If you want to restore, yes, you can. If you want to restore, you can restore it, but you cannot delete it. So how to manage that? So simply change backup retention period value, it deletes. For example, you have given 7 days as a backup retention value. AWS will store last 7 days backup copies. And you are expecting you to have only last 5 days. Then if you try to go and delete it manually, it won't allow. You go and modify the cluster, change the backup retention window to 5 days, then AWS will take care about the delete operation. We cannot delete. But whatever the one you are creating manually, that you need to delete manually. Deleting cluster won't delete that manual snapshots. Automated snapshots will delete automatically, but manual snapshots won't delete. Okay, why? Because you created it manually. Is AWS responsible for that? Blindly, AWS don't delete that. But automated one, yes. While you are deleting cluster, it will ask us, okay, do you really want to keep that automated snapshots? If you select yes, if you select retain automated snapshots, it will be available for coming 5 days or for coming 2 days based on the value you selected. After that only it deletes automatically. That is retaining. Okay. So if you don't require those snapshots, just uncheck that retain option, then delete along with your cluster. Those also will delete automatically. Okay. Yeah. So that is an option. Let me quickly show you. Manual snapshot creation is now completed. So what we can do with the snapshots? For example, I created a snapshot. It's some time back at 9:39, I have created a snapshot. Suddenly my database is crashed. At 9:40, my database is crashed. All right. At 9:40, my database is crashed. So then what we can do? Okay, we already have a backup copy. From that backup, we can initiate a restoration. So this is the snapshot we have. Select the snapshot, go to actions, restore snapshot. That is the first option. Second option is copy snapshot. In which scenario we use this copy snapshot? Any guess? Yeah, So you have a database cluster in Mumbai region. You need similar database in another region. Similar database, you have lot of data inside this database. Similar one you required in another region. So then we can use this copy snapshot option. So then what happened? Same snapshot will copy to Singapore region or Sydney region, whatever you selected. When you click on copy snapshot, it will ask you, where do you want to? Okay, I want to copy it to London. So then you gave the snapshot name, scroll down, copy, you will get it. You launch a DB cluster in London region, then you will get an instance. So for that purpose, we can use copy. Share another AWS account. If you want to share this with another AWS account privately, you gave that another AWS account 12-digit account ID here. Then you can share. There is another option called public. When you select public, what happens? Anyone in Mumbai region who knows your snapshot ID, they can create it. So we never ever do that. Okay. This privately, you can share with another account and all. Right. And export to Amazon S3. Pretty straightforward. Whatever snapshot we have, export to Amazon S3. What is the name you want to give? You want to export all the data. To what bucket you want to export? So what is the IAM role you are going to use? What KMS key you are going to export? Fine. You have did export. You exported this. Okay. Somehow later on you decided to import this. So then what you can do? Go to databases. Restore from S3 is there. See, the snapshot is storing in S3. Okay, the cluster is not delivering from S3 or your cluster is not storing anything in S3. Okay, the backup copy is in S3. Where you can see. For example, if you ask me to show this in S3, can I? No. I know it is storing in S3, but it is in Amazon S3 bucket, not in my S3 bucket. But if I want to see all my backups inside my S3 bucket, I want to download or I want to do something with that backup. So then manually, I can do this. Export to S3. It stores in my S3 bucket where I can go and see. Okay. So that is a difference. Okay. So now I'm going to do the restoration now. Navigate to actions, restore snapshot. This migrate, right? So basically, whatever the type of, for example, you're running MySQL or you're running PostgreSQL. Later, you decided to, okay, Aurora MySQL have a lot of features. So let's migrate to. So, instead of doing all data level migrations, simply select it, actions, migrate. AWS will migrate data from MySQL to Aurora MySQL. Okay, it's already in Aurora MySQL, so this feature is disabled. Okay, so actions, restore. Now, is this restore in place restoration or new restore? What is in place restoration? So you have upgraded from Windows 10 to Windows 11 operating system, right? Is that in place upgradation or brand new upgradation? In place upgradation? Right. So you have not formatted, you did not get any Windows 11 CD or the drive to install it, right? From Windows 10, you ran some software or you ran an update, automatically it upgraded to Windows 11. You have all your data, the same laptop, same files, everything is available. Technically, that is a in-place upgradation. Okay. Brand new upgradation means, for example, you're using Windows XP or Windows 7. You're using Windows XP or you're using Windows 7. So then you decided to upgrade it to Windows 10 or Windows 11. In-place upgradation is not possible from Windows 7 to here. So then what we can do? So you first get that software, you insert that, you format that. So the C drive, you format the C drive and you install. So it's completely fresh copy. So here also, whatever restoration you are doing, that restoration is not in place restoration. We got issue for this database. You see here. So we got issue for this database. So as we got the issue, we are doing restoration. But it won't restore here. We will get a new database with a new name that contains all data similar to this. That is what the mechanism. Okay. So let's click on this. Okay. I'm going with what version you want to go with. What is the name you want to give? Restored. I'm calling it as restored Aurora. Multi-AZ, in what VPC you want to run, public accessibility, yes or no, what security group you want to use, what category you want to. Okay, passport authentication. It's not asking us to select any passport. Why? Because it's a backup copy. Whatever user we already have, same user we can use here. Right. So then click on restore DB cluster. Now, new cluster is creating. You see here? If it is an in-place restoration, what should happen? It should restore on this. But it is a brand new restoration. We got a new copy with new name. So once this creation is completed, we can get connected to it. Okay. Whatever data we have at this 9:39. Okay. So those all data we will get in brand new cluster. Okay, so this is one option. Another option is whenever you enable automated backups, there is an advantage. So AWS frequently take backups in backend. For example, now there is a database. So this database is running from 9:30, right? For example, at 9:50, the database is crashed. At 9:50, the database is crashed. So now, if you observe the backup, it's created at 9:40 only. 9:39 something, right? It created at the time only. So now, if I initiate restoration, I'm going to lose all 10 minutes data. Correct? I lost recent 10 minutes data. But I want to verify whether we have enabled an option called backtrack while creating. Yesterday, I have not talked about that. So AWS backtrack all the changes. Okay, now if I go here and if I choose restore to point in time, if I select this option, okay, you observe restore to point in time, a specific time. Point in time means, you see here, latest restorable time, 9:49. How much data we are going to miss? Just 2 minutes data. But manual snapshot, when I created at 9:40, if I depend on that, I cannot. As we enable automated backup, AWS automatically use that. Okay, so hardly you are going to last 2 minutes data. That is a restore to point in time option. For example, okay, I don't want to go with that also. I want to see what exactly data I have at 9:45, 50 seconds, including seconds also. So then we can go and select custom date and time. Select the date today at 9:45, 50 seconds. At the time, what exactly my database state is, I want to restore to it. So then remaining all options. What is the name you want to give? What configuration you want to give? What security group you want to choose? Okay, scroll down and restore. At 9:45, 50 seconds. Whatever data we have, only with that data we are going to get a cluster. Okay? So that is a restore to point in time mechanism. If you enable automated backup, then only this feature works. If you don't enable it, you obviously need to depend on manual snapshots you create periodically. Okay. So that is another option we have for restoration. So this is still creating. Once the creation is completed, I'll show you. Okay. So this Aurora cluster, MySQL cluster is created. It have a snapshot. And this snapshot is automated snapshot. Whenever we go to snapshots, so far we have only manual. When I go to automated, I have this snapshot, right? Can I delete this snapshot? This is a snapshot. Okay, if I go to actions, do I have any option to delete? No. Automated backups, I can go here, I can select it, go to actions. It's giving only restore option. It is not giving any delete option. So we are not able to delete this snapshot. We are not able to delete this snapshot. That is what someone raised this question some time back. So why? Because it is a automated one, we cannot. If you select manual one, this is a manual one. If I go to actions, where is that? If I go to manual one, there is a delete option. But if I go to automated one, there is a delete snapshot. If I click on this and it is saying cannot delete snapshot. Okay. So manual snapshots, we can delete, automated one, we cannot. So now, how to get rid of this? Whenever you are deleting the cluster, navigate to actions, delete. It will ask us, you want to get final snapshot? I don't require. Then immediate next option, you want to retain automated backups. If this option is selected, it won't delete automatically. Your automated snapshots won't delete. If you select retention period as a 1 day, it will be there for 1 day, then it will delete. Okay. So uncheck this one also. Then snapshot will delete. Then I acknowledge. You need to type delete me, then click on delete and it will delete. Okay. So that is a automated snapshot mechanism or snapshot mechanisms in our AWS. The minimum snapshot period is 1 day. 0 means disables. Minimum backup retention, if you set 0, it's nothing but disable. Maximum backup retention period is, what is the maximum backup retention period? 35 days. We cannot have more than 35 days older one. Okay. So any questions so far? No? Contains all the data also, not only configuration. That AWS will take care. For example, now, okay, at 9:40, I have taken a backup. At 9:45, I have taken another backup. So in backend, AWS uses incremental mechanism. But again, always you need to have more recent snapshot. Deleting first snapshot won't affect. Okay. So the advantage with that, right? So whenever you're taking second backup, it's going to be pretty quick. Why? Because it capture only changes happened from previous. Apart from that, when coming to customer perspective, there is no difference. The process is bit speed up. Yeah. But always you need to have most recent snapshot to restore everything. This database, DB database, I'll show you. This creation need to complete. It is still creating. Once it is created, right, we can get connected and we can see. At 9:40, this is what data I have. This classic model, first DB, and this. These all automatically we will get for the restored cluster also. Okay. Why? Because these all we perform before 9:40. Yeah. But for that, it need to complete. Then I can show. Sometimes we will get request, guys. Initiate the restoration for whenever any issue occurred. Like, DBA team and all, they will ask us, or application team ask us to restore for troubleshooting and all. we will create restored, we will create a copy and we will provide the information to them. They will do that work. Okay. Still creating. It should not take this much time. But it's Aurora. Okay. Configuring enhanced monitoring. Right. So we can get connected to it now. This is a cluster. You see that name, restored Aurora. So I'm taking a new connection. Okay, this is a restored cluster. I'm connecting to the restored cluster. If I go to schemas, you see here, we got all the data. What exactly this database is there at 940? Same, we can find it here, including history and all those everything. Okay, so that is a mechanism. Restoration, not so typical option. Just take a snapshot at what time they required. You you pick the most recent one or the specific time one, then you initiate a restoration. Username and password same as the master one. Okay, that is a backup strategy for our databases. Now, these all comes under relational databases. When coming to another type of database, that is a non-relational. So that is a DynamoDB. So when coming to this DynamoDB, we don't have much things to perform. Where AWS is taking care about everything. Why? Because it is a serverless. In your certification exam, whenever you see any word called single digit millisecond latency at any scale, if you found this word in your certification exam question, blindly choose answer as a DynamoDB. Why? Because how big your application is, whatever your application is, doesn't matter. How much data is coming doesn't matter. At any scale, if you're trying to read data from that DynamoDB, within millisecond, we will get all the data. Single digit millisecond, not even 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds. Single digit means till 9. It may be 1 or it may be 2 or till 9. Okay, so the word single digit millisecond latency at any scale, go and choose. And in VPC, if you ever see IPv6 in place of NAT, you go and choose egress only internet gateway. That is also a blind one. You see the question, okay, answer. No need to read the entire question also. Okay, so yeah, that is, we will talk about that. I'm deleting it. No final snapshot. Don't want to retain. Delete me. Delete. And I'll keep one and I'm deleting this. So basically, you cannot stop it permanently. If you're trying to stop it, within 7 days, it's going to start again. After 7 days, it starts again. Okay. So if you want to stop it, there is an option. You need to create a small Lambda function. So that Lambda function will go and check the status. It will stop automatically. That we'll discuss later. Okay. Again, you cannot delete the cluster directly. So you first select the instance, actions, delete instance, final snapshot really required? No. Then delete. So if you delete the cluster, if delete the instance, cluster will delete automatically. Right. So now let's navigate to DynamoDB. When coming to this DynamoDB, you see here, no server, nothing. No server, nothing. So first, if you want to start working in this DynamoDB, you can go and create a table. You can start inserting the items. Okay, we have a query within the browser, or we have an offline query editor. You can use that query editor or you can use this browser. So then you can run queries. And how your application can communicate with DynamoDB? With the help of role. You remember, we even have endpoints also. If your application is running in custom VPC is private subnet without any internet connectivity, but it want to access DynamoDB data. Is there any possibility we have? Endpoints. VPC endpoints. Create an endpoint for DynamoDB. Okay, associated to your private subnet. That private subnet EC2 instances, without any internet connectivity also, it can access these resources. That is what the endpoint mechanism we can use with DynamoDB. So let's go to tables, click on create table. No cluster, you see this here. Is it asking for security group? Is it asking for any the configuration like db.t2 micros, t3 micros? No, it won't ask you any of those things. Why? Because it is completely serverless. So first, what is a table name? Okay, I'm giving a school DB as a name. Okay, what is a partition key or primary key? What is primary key in databases?
It's a unique identifier. It doesn't allow null values.
Yes, it doesn't allow null values. It doesn't allow duplicates. It should be unique. In simple, in database, this partition key should be unique. Okay, so we have sort key or secondary key. Okay, it's like a foreign key. So you just partition key. In every school, student ID is going to be unique one, right? Once a student have a ID, that's not going to be same for another student. So I'm going to give a partition key as a student ID. Is the student ID is going to be binary, number, or string? Numeric. I want to go with the numeric. So it supports only numbers if I select number. If I give binary or string, it supports strings. Okay, let's go with the number. And the sort key is not really required. Okay, so default settings, it picks all the default settings automatically. But don't go with that, go with the customized settings. And storage, standard, infrequently accessed, and standard. You know this. We discussed multiple types. S3 we discussed, EFS we discussed. Again, same. Standard data will be available for frequently accessed data. This is useful. Infrequently accessed, less frequently accessed data, we can go with this. So go with DynamoDB standard. And here, the capacity mode. Fine, you are creating a table. Okay, you are going to make the table available for your application. But how much data your application is going to write to this table per second? How much data it is going to read from this table per second? End of the day, we are going to read the data and write the data to the table, right? How much it is going to. So that if you select on demand, whatever it is doesn't matter. Per second, 100 requests, 1000 requests, 10,000 requests, it scales. Okay, that is the first option. Second option is provisioned. You can go and select. I am configuring to perform 5 read capacity units, RCUs, read capacity units, and write capacity units, WCUs. Okay, so per second, 5 read operations will happen and 5 write operations will happen. If you want to enable auto scaling, what it will do? You define minimum. In auto scaling group, always we do the same thing, right? You define minimum, you define maximum, it scales automatically. Okay? Or simply go with the on demand, it do everything for us. So if you want to add any secondary indexes, you can do that, ignore it. And data is going to be encrypted here. Tags, you can define the tags and click on create table. That's it, a table created now. How much time it is going to take to create a table? Table is active. It's ready. So we can start inserting items into this table. So go to this table, and if you later you decided, for example, you have selected 5 read capacity, 5 write capacity units, you decided to increase that capacity. So you go here, additional settings, edit, change this at any time. As it is not running on top of server, zero downtime. You don't require any downtime. You just go and modify settings. That's it. It take effect. Okay. So that is the first thing. Second thing is, now fine, you created a table, but how to write items to this table? So for that, in left pane, we have explore items and PartyQL editor. Okay. So go to this explore items. It will show here, scan the table, query the table, what are the information we have, it will show, but I don't have anything, right? Now I decided to write some tables. So here, create item option is there. You can use that create item. So student ID is going to be 100. And I'm going to add new attributes to this. So I'm going to take a string. I'm calling it as a first name is Avinash. Another string. Last name is T. And I'm going to take a number. I'm calling that as a contact. Okay. Now create item. So the same thing here, it is in JSON format. Day before yesterday, I told you in RDS, in what format data stores? Tabular format, rows and columns. You see here how data is storing? Yeah, JSON format. Now click on create item. Now one item is created. Similar way, I'll quickly create multiple items. Student ID, I'm going to give 101. I'm giving contact like something like this. Create item, I'll create one more item. So generally we don't do this manually, okay? Application is going to do this. But here I just want to show. Gives an error. Why? Because I selected number. All right. So I have 3 items now. I have 3 student information in this school database. And the unique one is student ID. Now I want to see, like, I want to get one student information where student ID is equal to 101. I want to get all his information. So we can query this where student ID is equal to 101, then run. You see here, out of 3, similar way, even if you have million records also, you can go and query, okay, inside the school DB, I want to get student ID where student ID is equal to 102. Run, it is showing. When I click here, it is showing all the information about that student. So that's how, like, whenever you go to any shop, if you gave your phone number, that guy will enter, and when you click on enter your phone number and click on get data, it will show all your previous history, purchase history. How? The phone number is unique. Or else the first name, last name, that we cannot keep it as a unique, right? So that's the reason. Tell me your phone number. Or they will use customer ID. They will ask you, okay, what is your customer ID? So that should be unique. That unique one we are using here under school DB, where student ID is equal to 100. Get that information. It will show that information, all the information here. Okay. So that is query. If you want to scan entire table, you click on run. It is showing all the information we have. This is very basic information. And trust me, we don't do all this. Just to give a overview or idea on this database, I'm explaining it. Okay. If someone is talking about DynamoDB, you need to know, okay, this is, there is an option called scan. There is an option called query. We can modify these properties and all. Okay. You need to know all this. And what about backups? If you want to create backup, there is an option called backup. Go here, on-demand backup, create on-demand backup. So then you go what table backup you want to take. What is the backup name? You give and create backup, it creates. And once backup is created, what you can do? You can initiate a restoration. Select the backup copy. Okay. So then there is an option called restore here. Restore. So then you will get a new table. Not so difficult. And how to automate this backups? How to automate this backup? See, it is an on-demand backup, right? Manually, I'm doing it. But my requirement is periodically, I want to take a backup automatically. Not only for this, for RDS, for EBS, for EFS, I want to take a backup automatically. Okay. So for that, we have a service called AWS Backup. By using single service, we can take backup of multiple resources like EBS, we can, EFS, we can, RDS, we can, DynamoDB, we can. So for that, we first need to create a vault. Within that vault, we can store all the backups. For that, there is an AWS article. Okay, I'm sharing that link. Take that as a task and complete the task. Here is a article. Okay. AWS, get started with EFS backup. And this is EBS backup. Perform these two tasks. Okay. So it's not so typical to understand. It's very easy. You already know what is EFS. You already know what is EBS. Use AWS backup service. Do that task. In interview, you mention, okay, what is a backup strategy? Instead of talking about, if he is asking about individual service, you talk about individual service options. Otherwise, you mention, we are using AWS backup service that capable to take a backup of multiple resources. Okay, so we are using AWS backup service to take a backup and all. So if you want to talk more, you need to complete these two tasks. Okay. So each and every step is well written, including screenshots. Don't have question mark faces, okay? I'm just giving a link and I'm not even talking about AWS backup and I'm giving a task. It's not so difficult. That's the reason I'm giving this task. Okay. If you observe that here, it is free. So first step, go to AWS backup. You see, he's searching AWS backup. He's asking you to go. Okay. So then what is the next step? On navigation pane, on backup console, go to settings, configure resource. This much in detail article it is. Still can't do? Okay. Spend some time and try to do this. Important. For whoever want to add some experience, it's a bit important. Okay. So that is a DynamoDB concept. And if you want to try this DynamoDB, so there is an application called Tic-Tac-Toe. Do you know this? Tic-Tac-Toe. This. Right? This one. You play this, right? So same application, I'm the winner. Okay. So basically the same application we can get from Elastic Beanstalk. The code and all Amazon will provide. Okay. The code and all AWS actually provides. So for that also I'm going to give an article. Use that article, develop this game. Again, I'm not asking you to write anything. You just need to clone the code into an EC2 instance. You need to put it into an Elastic Beanstalk server. Okay, for that you need to install some Git, Python and all. So instead of doing it in your local laptop, you take an EC2 instance. Mainly, whoever want to promote yourself as the AWS developers, you guys concentrate on this. Operation side, don't worry about this. Okay, so that Elastic Beanstalk actually is going to use here player 1 and player 2 multiplayer game is happening. So if I did something, You see here it's something happening, right? So now, so what is happening here? Whatever the moves we are doing, so that move is going to store and waiting for next move. And there is a logic whenever any crash or trait, all three are matching. So that guy is a winner. So these all moves and everything is going to store in backend DynamoDB database. The task the link I'm sharing. These moves and the player information actually stores in backend DynamoDB table. And you are going to get a UI. The code and all delivers. The web interface actually delivers from Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. So for that, here is the link. Yeah, this is a link. Mainly, as I told you, developers. Okay. So you go with this link, take a Elastic Beanstalk, small role you need to create. You already know how to create a role and how to create a policy. So try to do that. Okay. Right. If you don't want to go into the dev side and all, just ignore it. Have the concept in mind and the question. Okay. So that is a DynamoDB mechanism. We have some more option, DynamoDB caching and Elastic Cache, Redshift, that we will discuss in our next session tomorrow. Okay. So for today, and this VPC1, where is it? VPC1 dot. Not this image actually. Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll try to get it from my previous GitHub links. Yeah, this one. No, this I already asked you to do this. Task.jpg. Okay, this is the one. All right, if you observe this diagram, here there is a VPC. Within this VPC, one public subnet, two private subnets. Whatever VPC you guys created, don't delete it every day. Have it, it won't cost you anything until unless you create a NAT gateway. Okay, so create NAT gateway, create a custom VPC, have that subnets, use internet gateway, keep that internet gateway also. So you launch a database backend. On top of that, you create a web server. So then on top of you create an Elastic load balancer. The load balancer is running in custom VPC public subnet. So then if you want, you can map it to route 53 DNS name and you try to access it. Forget about this CloudFront that we will start from Monday onwards. Okay. So you are able to communicate to this. You are able to communicate to this database from this web server. That is a matter. Okay. So I'll share sample code and all in next session to deliver a WordPress website. Right. So this, try to create this environment and keep it ready. So that is the first thing. The second thing, restored sample database. Third one, these two about backups. And this DynamoDB tic-tac-toe, I'm also placing that as the task 4. Okay. Right. So yeah, any questions? And make sure you terminate all the resources, guys. So now I don't require this DB. Jump server. I'm deleting it. And also I'm deleting my another cluster, which I have. Manual snapshot I'm deleting. Why AWS removed the delete option from that screen? I don't know. See, when I select here, it should allow me to delete, right? When I go inside, then it is asking me to. No final snapshot. I acknowledge. Delete me. So then delete. All right. So DynamoDB also comes under free tier eligibility. It also comes under it comes under free tier eligibility. So you can definitely give a try. Keep that infra ready. I'll share the code tomorrow. Okay, it's uploaded and all resources deleted. All right. Please pose this question in Slack, Rajesh. I cannot pick from here. Right. So we are running out of time. All right. So yeah, that's it for today's session. Spare some time and practice this database. Okay. So see you again tomorrow. Thank you, guys.